Okay, so now we've covered artboards, which are our drawing canvas. Let's go ahead and talk about actually drawing using shapes. So what we can do is first let's insert an artboard. You could come up and just hit insert artboard, or you can take advantage of Sketch's great keyboard shortcuts and simply just hit the A key. And you'll notice we now get our crosshair where we can draw our artboard. Now we don't particularly need an artboard for this, but it's nice to get in the process of making an artboard. Let's go ahead now and let's create a rectangle. We can do so. You'll want to click anywhere because by default after you draw the artboard, it's going to select the name here to be allow you to name this. If we click off, it gets rid of that. Now we can hit R and you'll notice we get the cursor again. And you'll notice we get the crosshair again, and we can click and draw a shape. Okay, now here's our rectangle, and this is just an absolute basic rectangle. If you want to maintain a regular rectangle, you would just hold Shift like normal. Now if we're resizing this and you want to keep the dimensions intact, for instance, let's go ahead and have this be a vertical rectangle like this, and we were to hold the Shift key now, you'll notice it doesn't make it a square or a regular rectangle. It actually keeps the current dimensions. So holding Shift can be useful if you're not only for creating regular shapes, but for actually creating shapes that maintain their size. Okay, so we have a rectangle. Now, how do we turn this into an oval? Well, we actually have the radius slider right here where we can just grab this and turn it all the way up to 100. But you'll notice this doesn't turn this into an oval at all. And in fact, the border radius here is going by pixels. So at 100 pixels, and this shape being giant, as you can notice, it's 2,000 pixels tall. 100 pixels is nothing. This sort of looks like just an absolute 5 pixel border radius. Let's go ahead and make this shape considerably smaller. I'm going to go ahead and have the width be, let's just say, 100. And the height can be 300. Now we'll want to zoom in on this. We can do so by selecting this shape, and then we can hit Command 2. Okay, you'll notice what we still don't have is we still don't have an oval. This is a pill shape. Now, how do we make an oval? Well, one thing we can do is head to Insert, Shape, and you'll notice we have an option for an oval, which is just O. Let's go ahead and select the oval, and you'll notice we can get working at drawing a circle here. Now, again, if we hold Shift, it's going to keep this as a regular shape or a perfect circle. If we let go, it's going to allow us to get some oval shapes. So as you can see here, even with border radius and a small item, we're still not able to get the same sort of shape out of a rectangle as we would just be able with the oval tool. Now, you'll use probably the oval tool most often for making perfect circles. This is used a lot in terms of maybe avatar heads or something like that, but you use circles quite a bit in design, and typically they're perfect circles. Okay, so now we have an oval, we have this pill shape, and we have a circle. Let's go ahead and actually turn this pill shape back into a square by turning down the border radius to 0. Okay, what's next? Well, we can also create a few more shapes. And what's the difference between a rounded square and a square? As you can see, I'm drawing the rounded square. It's nothing. In fact, it's simply just a square with a border radius predefined. And if we were to drag that down, what are we left with? Well, we're left with a rectangle. So as you can see, the border rounded square is really just a square. Now, why would you use that? Well, perhaps you just want a quick default rounded square. I personally don't see myself using the rounded rectangle very often. Now, in addition, we also have some more complex shapes like stars, polygons, and triangles. Now, I actually end up using triangles most for creating arrows, despite there being an arrow shape, and I'll show you why in a second. Let's get into star, because star actually has a few more options than most shapes. Let's actually make a perfect star, because stars don't look so good when they are not regular shapes. Okay, so we have this star, and you'll notice instead of just radius, we get radius and points. We can make this as many points as, well, up to 50 here, but it is considerably a lot of points here. We're creating some sort of a sun type shape, and we can tune up the radius, which actually makes this less of a sun and more of maybe like a badge or something like that. And we can bring it all the way in to get something really extreme. But as you can see here, these are the tools that you're probably used to from something like Illustrator when working with shapes, especially shapes like stars or something like that. You expect this stuff to be here, and it exists within this shape just as well. And you'll notice here that if we turn this points down to like 5 and have a huge border radius, it's less of a star and more of a pentagon. And if we go extreme with it, it actually comes to, I don't know how many faces there are on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is this a dodecagon or decagon? I'm not quite sure of the name, to be honest, of the shape. But it's something like that. So we have our shapes here. So we have our star here, which is highly customizable to give us some polygonal shapes, or we can simply just actually create a polygon. Let's go ahead and create a polygon here. Click and drag. I'm going to hold shift again to get a regular shape. And you'll notice we don't have the same options. So when we had points and radius and we were able to create some polygons, it's sort of maybe a hacky way of creating a polygon. If you wanted a straight up pentagon, you'd simply just need to create a polygon. The default is a pentagon. We can change that. We can make this be 6 sides, a hexagon here. Okay, and you can see we can just go all the way up to 10. Now, can we go past 10? Well, let's type into this box 20. And you'll notice the slider range is sort of the default, right? This is where you're probably going to go with it, anywhere from 4 to 10. But let's say you need more than that, you can certainly type it in yourself. Okay, so what's left with our shapes? Well, we also have the ability to create a triangle. Like I said, I use a lot for making arrows. We can come here and select triangle. And again, let's go ahead and make this shape. Again, I'm going to hold shift, create a regular triangle. And as you can see, there's no additional things here. We simply just have a triangle. Now, a triangle is, like I said, used really nicely with a rectangle to create an arrow. We can take 2 shapes and create one. I'm going to be showing you how to do that using some of the transformation tools that we have available to us within Sketch. Now, if we come to Insert, come to Shape, and select Arrow this time, notice how I'm jumping back up to some of these. We can go ahead and create an arrow. And as you can see here, we have this arrow. It doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest, because it's pretty small. We have in this additional shape at the end here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to use this ever. I'm not quite sure when you would end up using this. You can see that we can change the border thickness and have it be quite a bit larger. But even as you do so, the line border ends up filling in to the triangle here. And if we were to do maybe like a fill instead of a large giant border, it's only going to be filling in the arrowhead. Like I said, using this arrow shape, I'm not quite sure when you use it unless you're doing just maybe like a simple graph or something like that, or a simple chart where you're pointing to things. Either way, the arrow shape is not your most used shape in this toolbar. Now, the next thing we have is a line, which you can get to simply by hitting the L key. If you'll notice, only 4 of these shapes have quick keyboard commands, L, R, O, and U. Now, I'm not quite sure about the rounded U keyboard shortcut, but it's there if you need it. You can probably guess that the most used are line, rectangle, and oval. If we hit L for line or just click that, you can see we can hold shift. As you can see, we can draw a line of any distance between 2 points, and if we were to hold shift, it's going to pin it to 45-degree angles. So we can have a straight line here that's completely horizontal, and you'll notice up top in our inspector, instead of getting a size and coordinates, we have from x1 to x2, from y1 to y2. So we get just the length of it by updating the x2. And you could change this number to, let's say, 3000. And you can see our line has become quite a bit longer. Now, if we want to make this line thicker, what we can do is come to our borders and we can up the thickness. Now you'll notice I'm tapping here to make this thicker. And if you were to hold shift, it will jump up by 10. Now we have a 20 pixel thick line, and we could change this color simply by clicking on in the color for the border here. And now we have a black line. So this is how you create all kinds of shapes in Sketch. I know this is getting into basic territory here, but we want to make sure we have a good foundation for when we start building. So when I say we hit R to build a rectangle, whatever, you know exactly what's going on. Now, in addition to this, we also have a vector tool. We have all sorts of shape tools and customization options. So in the next video, we're going to be getting into some of the things we can do with shapes to transform, customize them, and combine them. So keep watching, fire up the next video as we actually make our usage of shapes a little bit more interesting here. If you would like to purchase this series and see the rest of it, we're going to be doing 3 full chapters of Sketch tutorials, basically taking you through everything you need to know, from basic examples and sort of foundational knowledge to actually building real world application designs and using real world techniques that you'll see in the office. So check it out. Head over to store.leveluptutorials.com or click the annotation in this video to head over to the store and purchase this series. Keep in mind that purchasing this series helps go a long ways towards creating free tutorials for this website, or you could become a Level Up Pro, subscribe, and get access to streaming this series. So head over to store.leveluptutorials.com to complete this Sketch series and learn everything there is to know about Sketch.